I mean, I feel like you guys are putting up new properties left and right all the time. Every time I talk to Will, and it's really exciting. How many properties are you guys at right now?
Ooh, I think we're at about 35 properties.
Awesome. With Discovery Land Company, founded 94?
94.
Nice. Do you have a favorite property or one that kind of you gravitate towards the most?
Yeah, everybody always asks me that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's hard. It's like saying, who's your favorite child? And I always say, Will.
Okay. I was going to say, that question comes next, but you already answered it. There
Love the one you're with, right?
Exactly.
So, no, it's hard. So I tell everyone, like, the top 4 are Kukio, El Dorado, Baker's Bay, and Yellowstone. And they were all kind of in the original tranche, everything before 2008. And if I had to pick a number 1, I always say Kukio. And it's only because Kukio really made the brand, because Will was there, from the beginning. It was just an ugly piece of lava that we turned into oasis. And I mean, it looks like right out of a Hawaiian movie set. And the people who bought there were all like captains of industry. It was probably half of the Forbes, 100. And I was, I had 4 or 5 deals under my belt, but not the brand that we have today. And so these guys all like interviewed me. So I had to like go to their offices and explain the vision or, what we were going to do. And they bought it. And I mean, I never, ever didn't think we wouldn't do it. And I never wavered. And I was, I had it in my head and it came out exactly how it was in my head. But they really, had faith in me and believed in me when they really shouldn't have.
Right.
Because now it's easy, right? I mean, we can go to Dubai like we are and everyone knows what they're going to get and what to expect. And we know we're going to deliver it. And with Kukio, I was really the only one who knew.
Right.
And everyone else took a big leap of faith. And the people who took the big leap of faith, were serious people who really diligence thing. So
yeah, if they're going to invest in a big home and spend time, they want to make sure the guy in charge has a clear vision, knows what he's doing, all that. I mean, that makes sense.
Right. But I didn't have the track record back then. So it was a leap of faith for them to actually have faith in me, which is why I'm so proud of it, because, I executed properly. It probably exceeded everyone's expectation. And, it's one of the great places, great developments ever.
Some of our best memories of all life are there. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Learning how to surf right there with T-Bear and Rob Machado and, oh my gosh. So let's give how would you define Discovery Land Company? Like for the audience, if we said, it's not just like a real estate company, how would you define what is Discovery Land Company?
Well, I'd say it's a recreational resort lifestyle community. It's hard to define it in one word because, it's kind of funny. Everyone goes, so what are you? You're in the golf business. You're in the health and wellness business. You're in the development business. You're in the operating business. They basically say everything except for we're in the real estate sales business.
Right.
And that's actually what we do. And so it all started, as you know, with Estancia, my first project.
In Scottsdale, Arizona.
In Scottsdale. And so when I started it, I had to convince everyone of everything that was going on. And I didn't golf, which didn't help. I was never a member of a country club. I grew up in Milwaukee, and I'm building the highest end golf course community or country club in Arizona, which was full of high-end country clubs. And so there are a couple things that I figured out with the help of Mark Sullenberger, who you probably remember, who kind of spoon-fed me a lot because he represented a couple other projects that did well that ended up having some faults. And so what I tried to do was create a community that was exclusive, secure, and sustainable. And even in 94, I was developing through the environment. And I learned that through an 18-year process in Portola Valley, where it took 18 years to get 28 lots on 300 acres. And it took so long because every environmental constraint you could think of was on this property. The San Andreas Fault ran through it. There's wildlife corridors. There's, botany corridors. There's landslides. So everything you can think of, wetlands, was on this property, wildland fires. And so I had to navigate through the environment. And in California and everywhere, you do these environmental impact studies. And so the people who were fighting me were all Stanford professors, because this property happened to be in Portola Valley.
Yep.
So the town geologic commission happened to have like the guys who started USGS. And, the people fighting me on the botany and biology were biology professors at Stanford. So it taught me how to develop through the environment, which is actually the way you want to develop, which is where Estancia became the product of. So Estancia, when I first looked at it, they pitched me to do like a Phoenician, which is a like big resort, convention resort in Phoenix, right up against Camelback Mountain. And I'm going, well, why would we do the Phoenician? It's bankrupt, and the developer was just thrown in prison. So
perfect model.
Yeah, I go, so that doesn't sound like the trend I want to go with. So they had a density credit for the resort units to 800 units. So we could get rid of the 3,000 hotel units and do 800 single-family homes. So we hired Tom Fazio for the golf course, which was one of the great moves that has,
I mean, you guys have worked together so much. And yeah, he's such a legend.
Yeah, it still goes on today. And we laid out the lots where you didn't need to mass grade the site, where you put the roads in the natural contours of the land. And by doing that, you save money on grading, you save money on landscaping, because you would de-veg everything and then re-veg it. So it was very environmental friendly and sustainable. And this is kind of right at the beginning of all that. And fortunately, I started in Portola Valley in Palo Alto, California. So I was able to learn how to do that. So with Estancia, we ended up, instead of 800 units, I think it was like 245 units. Everything kind of blended into the natural setting and environment. And, it stood the test of time. It's still probably the best subdivision or community in Arizona to this day. First development that ever had $1 million lots.
In Arizona?
In Arizona.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I love the idea too of not fighting the environment. You do it like the roads with the contours of the land, right? Like you just make it more integrated with what's actually there, right?
Well, it makes sense because if you plow over the dirt like most developers do, it just costs money, right? You got grading money, you got landscape money. Like the landscape budget here 20 years ago was $18 million. So and today it would probably be 2 to 3 times that. So if you don't have to spend that money, if you could actually navigate through the contours, and in Arizona, it's really easy because all the cactus and the trees out there are very short roots, taproots. So you could easily box them, dig them up, box them, and move them. And so, by the time we developed the site, it looked like everything was just laid in there, from on top.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Thank you for watching Studio 22.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
And follow our socials at Studio 22 Podcast.